Hi there everybody and welcome to MET-CUT for March 2022. Now today, ang pag-uusapan natin ay ang Social Sciences Part number 2. At ano ba ang nilalaman ng part na to? Number 1, we have history. Number 2, we have Rizal. And number 3, we have art appreciation. So let's begin. Let's start with question number 1. Teka lang hindi ko makita yung cursor. So let's start with question number 1. This treaty stipulates provisions that divide the world between Portugal and Spain. And here are the options. A, Paris. B, Geneva. C, Tordesillas. Or D, Lisbon. So I think immediately we can remove letter D because wala naman talagang treaty na naganap sa Lisbon. So out na agad ang letter D. So Paris naman, Treaty of Paris, as we all know, is between the US and Spain at dito pinagdesisyonan ang hinaharap ng Pilipinas. So hindi rin ito yung tamang sagot. Letter B, the Geneva Convention would have a lot of treaties inside it, pero we have to remember na ito ay naganap after World War II. At karamihan ng mga treaties sa convention na ito ay tungkol sa mga humanitarian acts during the war. So clearly, my dear friends, for question number 1, the answer is the Treaty of Tordesillas. And we have to remember that during those times, talagang dalawa ang superpowers nun, Portugal at ang Spain. Kaya naman pinagatian nila ang New World. So ayan. So number 1, the answer is letter C, the Treaty of Tordesillas. Okay. Number 2, sabi dito, the 5 ships of Magellan's voyages were Trinidad, San Antonio, Concepcion, Victoria, and Blanc. Now, I think in part number 1 of this video, Sir Noy was able to mention that one of the difficulties in this particular subject is that you need to memorize a lot of names, a lot of dates. So talagang kailangan pag soksay, medyo sharp ang memory mo. Like in this one, ano nga ba yung panglima na hindi na isama dun sa tanong? Now, my dear friends, in here, the answer is Santiago. Ang isa pang barko na ginamit sa voyage ni Magellan ay ang Santiago. Okay, so Trinidad, San Antonio, Concepcion, Victoria, and Santiago. Okay, number 3. This was considered as the highest court of justice in the country during the Spanish regime. Is it A, Supreme Court, B, the Royal Audiencia, C, the Papal Court, or D, Obras Pias? Now, mga kaibigan, tingin ko, letter D must be out of our options already because Obras Pias was a charitable institution during the Spanish regime. So, out na siya dyan. So, tatlo na lang. Supreme Court, Royal Audiencia, or the Papal Court. Pero hindi din pwedeng C kasi I think during that time, kahit hindi masyadong obvious, talagang merong distinction dapat between the state and the church. So, out na rin yung the Papal Court. So, A or B? Well, my dear friends, this is quite tricky kasi nga ngayon, we call it the Supreme Court. Ito na yung pinakamataas na korte sa ating bansa. Pero mga kaibigan, in the Spanish regime, they don't call it Supreme Court yet. Ang tawag nila doon ay ang Royal Audiencia or Royal Audiencia. So my dear friends, in number 3, the answer is, of course, letter B. O tandaan natin yan ha. Okay, number 4. The Mickey Mouse money was used during the blank occupation. Is it A, the British, B, the Japanese, C, American, or D, Spanish? Siyempre, hindi British at hindi rin Spanish. So, dalawa lang ang top choices natin dito. It's either American or Japanese. Now, Mr. Padilla, bakit American? Because as we all know, Mickey Mouse is an American character. Like si Walt Disney, di ba? Siya yung gumawa kay Mickey Mouse. Kaya isipin mo, ito ay American. Pero my dear friends, ang tamang sagot dito is Japanese. Tinawag siyang Mickey Mouse money kasi parang talaga siyang laruan. Parang wala siya halos value. At ito yung mga notes na or yung mga currencies na in-issue during the Japanese occupation. Diba? And I think maraming mga bagay-bagay talaga nga lumalabas about the Japanese occupation. Aside from the Mickey Mouse money, we also have to remember that the Japanese regime or the government during the Japanese regime was called the Puppet Republic, di ba? And yun yung mga kailangan tandaan natin tungkol sa Japanese occupation. Anyway, but in this question, the answer is the Japanese occupation. So, question number 5 tayo. This Philippine President introduced the policy Philippines 2000, which aims to make the Philippines a highly industrialized country by the year 2000. So out na dito yung mga pangulo na hindi naman inabot na yung o hindi sila So question number 5. This Philippine president introduced the policy Philippines 2000, which aims to make the Philippines a highly industrialized country by the year 2000. So dito, ang mga pagpipilian is it A. Corazon Aquino, B. Joseph Estrada, C. Fidel Ramos, or D. Gloria Arroyo. So tingin ko out na dyan si Gloria Arroyo because she became president in the year 2001. Out na rin si Aquino kasi I think she ended her term in the year 1992. So we have top two choices, si Fidel Ramos or si Estrada. Fidel Ramos nagtapos ang kanyang presidency in the year 1998. So during the year 2000, si Estrada na yung pangulo. So ang tanong, sino kaya ang tamang sagot dito? Well, the answer here is letter C, Fidel Ramos. At ginamit niya ang tagline na Philippines 2000 na parang looking forward in the year 2000. So tandaan natin mga kaibigan, let's all remember that the answer in here is letter C, Fidel Ramos. Okay, number 6. The Rizal Law, also known as Republic Act number blank, mandates educational institutions to offer a course about Jose Rizal. So again, medyo mahirap to. Dito tingin ko dito dapat memory ang ating gagamitin. Is it A, 1425? Is it B, 1542? Is it C, 1245? Or D, 1452? So again, mga kaibigan, I think we have no choice but to remember this. Talagang kailangan tandaan natin to, i-memorize natin. So ano bang tamang sagot mga kaibigan? It's letter A, 1425. So Republic Act number 1425. At ano bang ginagawa nito? Sinasabi dito na kailangan ituro ang Rizal course sa Pilipinas. So again, 1425. Okay, number 7. He is the only older brother of Jose Rizal. He also became a general during the war. Is it A. Pasiano, B. Luciano, C. Jose, or D. Francisco? Now, actually, dalawa lang silang lalaking magkapatid sa kanilang pamilya. Si Jose Rizal, at si Pasiano. Again, si Jose Rizal lang at si Pasiano ang lalaki sa kanilang magkakapatid. Kaya mga kaibigan, the answer here is Pasiano. Letter A, Pasiano Rizal. Ayan. How about number 8? In the year 1882, Rizal wrote blank, which is the first essay he wrote from a foreign land. He used the pen name Laong Laan. So mga kaibigan, ano kaya to? Medyo mahirap to actually. Is it A, Amor Patrio, B, La Liga Filipina, C, La Solidaridad, or D, Adios Patria Adorada? Now mga kaibigan, I think let's remove La Solidaridad because that is already the publication, and the La Liga Filipina because Rizal established this when he was already in the Philippines. So ang tanong, is it A, Amor Patrio, or D, Adios Patria Adorada? Now, I think yung Adios Patria Adorada, ito yung huling paalam niya eh. So, ibig sabihin, nasa Pilipinas na rin siya nung ito ay kanyang sinulat. Kaya mga kaibigan, ang sagot dito is letter A, Amor Patrio. Okay, tandaan natin yan mga kaibigan, Amor Patrio. Next, number 9. He is one of Rizal's professor who was a supporter and ally of Filipino students. He was a history teacher who fostered academic freedom. Is it A, Miguel Moraita, B, P.E. Margal, C, Nicanor Reyes, or D, Dapitan? If you may notice, lahat to, if you live in Manila o sa may Sampaloc, mga kaibigan, talagang ito yung mga streets sa Sampaloc. Ang tanong mga kaibigan, sino kaya ang tamang sagot dito? Well, D is already wrong kasi Dapitan is a place. Diba? And C is also wrong because Nicanor Reyes is the founder of FEU. At sa totoo lang mga kaibigan na, yung street na Nicanor Reyes Street sa Manila, dati siyang Moraita. Yan, pinalitan siya in honor of the founder of FEU na si Nicanor Reyes. So ibig sabihin, hindi siya panahon ni Rizal. So dalawa na lang. Is it A, Miguel Moraita, or B, P.E. Margal? Now, mga kaibigan, si P. Margal ay isang philosopher na na-meet ni Rizal sa Spain. At ito ay hindi niya naging teacher. Ang talagang naging guru niya o profesor niya sa Espanya ay si Miguel Moraita. So in here, the answer is letter A. Ayan, Moraita. How about number 10? Which among the following is not a chapter title in the Noli Me Tangere? Is it A. Pilosopong Tasio, B. Basilio, C. Sisa, or D. Crispin? Now, this question is a bit tricky kasi if you would notice, si Sisa, si Basilio, si Crispin ay magkakamag-anak. Actually, si Sisa ang nanay ni Basilio at ni Crispin. Kaya kung di mo ito mag-iisipan na maigi, iisipin mo na si Pilosopong Tasio ang odd man out. Parang siya yung hindi kasali dito. Pero sure ba tayo na ang answer ay Pilosopong Tasio? Mga kaibigan, remember, hindi tinatanong kung sino ang mga magkakamag-anak. Ang tanong dito ay kung alin ang hindi chapter ng Noli Me Tangere. So let's find out. Ano nga ba ang tamang sagot? Well, my dear friends, ang tamang sagot ay Crispin. Dahil si Crispin ay hindi naging pamagat ng chapter sa Noli Me Tangere. Pilosopong Tasio, chapter 14, Sisa, chapter 16, at Basilio, chapter 17. Wala pong chapter ni Crispin. So in here, my dear friends, the answer is letter D, Crispin. Okay? Sana po tama kayo dyan. How about number 11? This time, art appreciation na po tayo. This artistic period was described as the revival of the Greco-Roman art, literature, and philosophy. Is it A, Renaissance? Is it B, prehistoric art? C, ancient art? Or D, classical art? Now, mga kaibigan, when we say prehistoric art, ito po yung panahon. Actually, parang ito yung panahon bago ang classical art. Ito yung panahon kung saan hindi pa talaga sinasabing civilized yung ibang parts ng Western world. Ayan. So, di siya yung sagot. Hindi rin pwede maging ancient art. So, ang top two choices niyan is Renaissance and classical art. Now, let's talk about classical art. To be technical about it, my dear friends, when we say classical art, it pertains to the art of the Greco-Roman antiquity. Greek and the Romans. Ganyan yan, yung classical art. Pero ang tanong sa atin, hindi naman yung classical art mismo. Ang tawag ito, ang tanong sa atin is revival of the Greco-Roman art. And my dear friends, we have to understand this and we have to remember this, that si Francisco Petrarca at si Giovanni Boccaccio, sila yung mga writers na talagang naging spearheads ng period na to. Kasi ang ginawa nila, they were able to read philosophies and literatures of the classical period and then na-inspire sila and then they decided to revive these things. So ibig sabihin, si Petrarca at si Boccaccio ang nagsimula ng revival of the Greco-Roman antiquity. And that period is called the Renaissance. So my dear friends, when we say revival of the Greco-Roman art, literature, and philosophy, it is the Renaissance. Tandaan yan mga kaibigan, Renaissance. Okay. How about number 12? This masterpiece was painted by the Dutch painter Vincent Van Gogh in 1889. The image shows a view of the night sky from his asylum room. Pero bago yan, tanong, Van Gogh ba? Van Gogh? Actually, iba-ibang books, iba-ibang sinasabi. Pero, hindi naman na siya ganun kahalagang iba. Sa Van Gogh, kilala niyo siya, okay na yon. And ano nga ba yung painting na to? And, well, basically, my dear friends, I'm so privileged na nakita ko to in person. Actually, Sir Noy was with me. We went to New York and we went to MoMA. At doon siya naka-display. So ano nga bang tamang sagot? Is it A, Starry Night, B, Persistence of Memory, C, Potato Eaters, or D, Sunflowers? Now, immediately mga kaibigan, out na agad ang B. Kasi B, Persistence of Memory, was not a work of Vincent Van Gogh. It was the work of Salvador Dali, a very famous surrealist painter. So, yung tatlo, Starry Night, yung Sunflowers, tsaka Potato Eaters, yan, lahat yan gawa ni Van Gogh. Pero as we all know, ang tinatanong is yung night sky from his asylum. At tingin ko, asylum room. Kaya tingin ko yung night sky ang clue ninyo. Kaya naman mga kaibigan, the answer is Starry Night, letter A. And finally, my dear friends, number 13, this, by the way, Starry Night ang sagot. And number 30, by the way, sorry, ito yung picture niya. I think very famous naman tong picture na to. Very famous tong painting na to. Everybody knows this, I guess. Okay, number 13. This award is given to Filipinos or groups of Filipinos for their contributions to our country's intangible cultural heritage. Is it A, Gamaba, B, National Scientist, C, National Artist, or D, Urian? Now, mga kaibigan, ang Urian ay ginagawad sa mga pelikula. Ito ay mga films, mga kaibigan. So, out na yung Urian. National Scientist, as the name would suggest, mga kaibigan, ito yung tukol sa science. So, dito about cultural heritage. Top two choices would have to be Gamaba or Gawad sa Manilikha ng Bayan or C, National Artist. Pero we have to remember na ang national artist ay ginagawad sa mga artist ng contemporary art, modern and contemporary art, mga kaibigan. So ang tamang sagot dito is Gamaba or Gawad sa Manilikha ng Bayan. Ayan, so letter A ang sagot. Ayan. And that ends part number 2 of our Soksay CUT for March 2022. Now, my dear friends, good luck po sa mga kukuha ng board exam sa Sunday at asahan niyo po na kasama niyong MET sa panalangin na kayo ay makapasa. At actually, hindi lang makapasa, maging top-notchers sa board exam for teachers. So once again, maraming salamat and best of luck and God bless sa inyo sa Sunday. So, galingan natin. Bye everybody!